Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Florida has rejected nearly 50% of the textbooks for math that have been submitted to them for the coming year. Now, before we get out our Florida man joke glasses on, hold on a second here. When you look into the reason why these math textbooks were rejected, it's because they contained critical race theory. Now, critical race theory is, let's say it's a controversial theory to say the least. It's also a highly divisive theory, and one which has never, ever been used to make any scientific predictions. And if you can't make a scientific prediction, your theory is not valid. Also, critical race theory has this wonderful catch-all built into it. If you don't agree with critical race theory, that means you're a racist. Those are some fun parameters to begin with. Now, what I'm trying to figure out, and of course I haven't seen these proposed textbooks, is how that works its way into a math textbook. I would argue critical race theory, as much as I personally disagree with what I've studied about it from other perspectives, deserves to be taught. Have it in history or sociology or whatever you want to do as a perspective, kind of like we teach socialism and communism, but it does not belong in a math textbook whatsoever. Math, even at a high school level, is about teaching theories and responsibilities. We want these people to be able to figure out, 36% of something is whatever it is. You don't need critical race theory to do that in any way, shape, or form. Quite the opposite. Math textbooks have so many examples and so many models to follow that they don't really have time for critical race theory. When I was going through the high school system, the two most valuable things I was taught in math class, grade 11, general math, because I could do advanced math, I just hated it. But I dropped down to general because, I hated doing advanced, and I got to learn how to do a tax return. My goodness, talk about something useful. A tax return. People struggle with this all the time. There's this whole economy built around people who can do tax returns. And yes, even though the tax code changes from year to year, it doesn't change that much. The same basic idea holds up. This percent of your gross revenue goes to the federal level, and this percent of your province or state goes to the province or state level. Easy. They slightly repackage it. That's about it. So I consider that a fantastic use of high school students' time. Maybe they're not going to go on to become, mathematicians and geologists and stuff, but they're going to need to do taxes, and they need somebody, even if they're dealing with a local H&R Block person or whoever the heck does it locally, they need to understand what's being said to them and say, hey, why don't I get this? Why don't I get this? Blah, blah, blah. So there's a good thing to drop into your textbooks instead of critical race theory. The other thing I learned in math, and I think it was grade 11 or grade 12, was entrepreneurial studies. How to identify a market, how to put your expenses together, how to do all that sort of things. Again, wonderful information. Now, here maybe, just maybe, you could squeeze in some sort of racial profiling, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, but because one of my best friends opened a beauty supply store just for people of Black descent, African American, whatever you want to call them, and that was what his business was geared to. and he identified the malls that would be best set up to appeal to that dynamic. He did a fantastic job. And it was all based on that, because in university he was studying chemistry. But when he set things up, he took advantage of that knowledge and he ran with it. Plus, it wasn't a boring class. You weren't sitting there and, name all the countries in Europe. Bosnia, Herzegovina. Oh, it's 2 countries now? Oh, darn. Sorry about that, teacher. So these are 2 valuable things that need to be emphasized in the curriculum. Critical race theory in math? No. Sorry. 5 plus 5 still equals 10. Whether you're white, black, Asian, Indian, whatever you are, the same numbers add up. Critical race theory does have a place, and I would say a minor one, as an illustrative example. I grant it that. It's about as much credit as I'm ever going to give it. We need to start thinking what we want our children to really learn. If I'm sending my child to math class, I want them to be learning about math. As an artist, I have 0 issue with my child learning about developmental theories, with them learning about anything, as long as the curriculum is divided up correctly. Most people do not agree with critical race theory. It's being pushed in a lot of areas. And admittedly, in the southern United States, where there's 200-year-old wounds that have never properly been addressed, a lot of people are glomming onto it because they simply have no other way to explain what is going on. But, as stated back in the Viking episodes, blaming white people for everything racist is ridiculous. Let's look, for example, very briefly, at slavery. Well, white people and white captains absolutely did bring slaves to North America. But who are the ones capturing them? Who are the ones selling them to the white people? Do some research. It wasn't white people. No. One tribe would raid another tribe, and they would sell them on to frequently Muslim slave traders. That's right. The Ottomans and their fellow Muslim countries had a pretty developed and active slave market. So while these people are trying to turn around and paint this narrative as a gigantic anti-white conspiracy, as a gigantic white conspiracy against all these other races, there's a lot more racism in the world that has nothing to do with whites. Racism needs to be recognized as a problem, and we need to approach it as a group, whether we're white, black, yellow, red, purple, don't care what you are. It is the issue. And we need better theories that can actually allow us to make predictions. My biggest criticism of global warming is that its predictions, aside from things are going to get a little bit warmer, which can be explained with other theories, it's failed on every one. The ice caps haven't melted, which they were supposed to do in 2012. Therefore, it's a bad theory. Now, am I saying abandon it? I'm saying no, we need better science. We need to look at other ideas. We need to figure out how things work. The same is true with critical race theory. It's not a good theory. It has interesting implications, and it's worth further study. But it doesn't involve a math textbook. It involves better ideas, better people, and over time, I'm sure it'll help us understand things. But just like that study out of, I think it was Michigan or MIT. I forgot. It was a couple years ago. They showed a direct link between your level of education, your measured IQ, I don't know how to put that other than your supposed potential in mind, and how conservative you were. This is an interesting study, and it's been replicated. But that's being pushed to one side instead of saying, okay, you know, the more mentally challenged children are more prone to be conservative. So we need to let them explore other options. It's their choice to be conservative, but let's not let them become racists. And critical race theory, again, same vein. Interesting, let's explore it, but let's explore it elsewhere. And let's not have 50% of textbooks being submitted to an entire U.S. state that has one of the highest populations included in math. It's ridiculous. Anyways, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, subscribe. If you feel like supporting the show, please click on the link below and buy one of the books that are listed there. And most importantly, we hope you have a fantastic day.